The last conversation we had with Gail was about worship, and now today we're going to talk about prayer. So, it's just starting really broad. How would you guys define prayer? Tell me what prayer is?
A lot of times I think people overcomplicate it, especially for new Christians or people coming to the faith or getting serious about their faith. I think prayer is a communication with the Lord. It's going to Him with our thoughts, our concerns, our worship, our praise. It's setting aside time for Him to communicate.
Yeah, and I like that vein of, especially for new Christians, it just being this conversational thing. I think sometimes we can get trapped in the thought of our prayers have to sound a certain way with a certain language or verbiage, or we have to be in a certain body posture. Sometimes we get caught up and we experience God a certain way with our hands open or our heads were bowed and we felt Him, and we constantly want to mimic that. Yeah. But truly it's not that way. And I can say as a young Christian, when I was insecure in did God hear my prayers, insecure, and was I doing it the right way, I can now look back, and in those moments where I did pray things, just walking down the street, stumbling over my words in my thoughts, God has shown me I heard the prayers in those moments, and I can see it because He's answered them, and there's been moments in my life that have recalled to those moments. So just knowing that it is a heart alignment in that moment that makes the difference, and not your words or your body posture, the heart aligned.
What are some ways that I can grow in my prayer language with God? What are some common mistakes maybe, and what are some things that I can do better in the way that I'm praying with the Lord?
I think one of the pitfalls or bad habits, I think we as Christians, old and young, new and not new, we can get into is constantly going to the Lord with just like all of our complaints, and that it's just this big long complaint session of, well, why this and why that, and all those things, which there are times in our lives where we do go to the Lord in moments like that of why, but we have to be careful in wherever you are in your relationship with the Lord, in that it's not just always a sit complaining session and oh poor pitiful me.
That's good.
Because so I think instead what we as Christians and we as followers of Christ need to do is, in most situations, what we need is, one, we need the heart of God, and two, we need wisdom from God and what to do. And anytime we have issues going on in our life, we need the Lord to show us what we can do to make things better. It's not always He's just going to wave this magic wand and fix everything. It's actually work we have to do. But if we do that kind of work within wisdom and within the heart of God, if we can get those things, our efforts would be better in all of those situations, and it would help our lives. It would help the bad situations or the storms of life, just in getting His perspective and getting His wisdom. So make sure in your communication and prayer with the Lord, it's not just, here, you do everything. Show me what I can do.
That's it. That's good.
I think there is, especially if we want to push back against the complaining, there is a spiritual discipline of being thankful, and if you are stuck in that mode of being complaining, which I think we all can be, I think for the most part we have a culture that constantly wants more, and we can be constantly praying for the more. But sometimes I go to prayer and I'm just thankful for what I do have that day. And I think you see that modeled in the Lord's Prayer. Thank you today for the bread that we have. Thank you that I have a car. Even just thank you I have bus fare, So.
Yeah, I think that we talked about that before, and was that prayer is a way to get your perspective on what God sees, is a way to grab God's perspective on situations. And it's tough to complain about things and be thankful for what God's doing in the same moment. So at some point, because I know the Lord's nature is to restore things, it's not to leave things broken. Like, coming to Him broken and complaining is not how you should leave when praying to the Lord, right? Is He going to do it every single time in that moment? Maybe not. Maybe He won't fix the whole situation every time. but your heart should be mended after leaving the Lord's presence. Like your heart in the moment, whether the storm is still raging around you or not, you should be able to come into the Lord's presence, center yourself, right, and have Him center you, right? Grab His centering peace and joy and love and all the fruits of the Spirit, and then be able to walk through whatever is going on around you.